Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm very excited because I am going to be trying a new genre of books that I've never read before, and that is dark academia. So by Google's definition, dark academia is a literary and aesthetic genre that involves mysterious, moody novels set in an academic institution like a boarding school or a university. The themes often explore intellectualism, passion for learning, secret societies, morality, desire, and the human condition. They're often set in schools with dark libraries, gothic architecture, and eerie dormitories and common rooms. Dark academia has a dark and gothic aesthetic with an overall moody, introspective ambiance. I feel like this is a genre that I've definitely heard a lot about, and I've heard some really good book recs come out of there, but I've just kind of been a little intimidated. It's kind of how I felt when I first started fantasies. It's just when you're starting a new genre that has a lot of people that love it, and sometimes the books can be a little bit harder to understand, or I don't know. It's a genre that I'm a little intimidated by, but I'm very excited to start out. So when I looked up some dark academia books, as well as doing some research on like YouTube and Book Talk, I would say probably the #1 book that gets brought up is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Now, this is a book I've been actually wanting to read for quite a while, just based on the things that I've heard about it. This definitely falls into the category of dark academia. It follows a group of clever and eccentric misfits at a New England college. So yeah, right there. And then it says that they discover a way of thought and a life, a world away from their banal contemporaries. So I'm very interested. I got this book a while ago, but I hadn't really like flipped through it at all. And then I just opened it and realized not only is it 600 pages, but the font on each page is so tiny. So I'm a little scared to start this book, I won't lie. I'm gonna go ahead and start it now and we will see how it goes. I'm nervous. I'm definitely very nervous, but I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I really hope I like it. I feel like I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. You either love it or you hate it. So hopefully I'm in the love it team, but I guess we'll find out.
Okay, it has been a hot minute since I've updated you guys on The Secret History, and I'm gonna be honest, it's because I fell into a little bit of a book slump. I think I got maybe like 30 pages into this book, and then I got sick last week, and so I just like wasn't feeling good, and then I kind of was just like laying around like watching TV and stuff, and was like so not in the mood to read, and then it like put me into a little bit of a book slump, like honestly probably like a week-long book slump, which I know isn't like crazy. For me, as someone that reads almost every single day, like I was like, what is going on? But yeah, I feel like I'm finally getting back into it. I'm gonna be honest, with this book, I am finding it easier to get through it if I listen to the audiobook. It's not bad. It's just the words on each page are really, really tiny. And it's like, I don't know why, but I find it hard to read when words are really tiny sometimes. Not in like the way that I can't see, but I feel like, and I think it's like a mental thing of like, I feel like I'm reading this book very slow. It's also 600 pages, so it's a very big book. The audiobook's like almost 24 hours long. So I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna just listen to audio for this. I've been following along a little bit in my book or just listening to audio, and honestly, I'm really enjoying that a lot more. So I'm currently on page 140, and at the very beginning of the book you find out one of the characters is dead. Like that literally happens in the prologue, and now we're in Richard's point of view, and it's like years in the future. We don't know how many years, but it's way in the future, and he's talking about his time at this college and with this group of kids that he meets, and then you are introduced to this character that you know ends up dying. So you're kind of like, what happened to him? Why does he die? Like all this stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at. Definitely still kind of getting introduced to the characters. I'm very much interested to see where this goes. So I'm gonna sit here and continue to audiobook it, and probably do some of my crochet my blanket that I've been working on. But yeah, I definitely feel like I need audiobook to get through this one, which is not bad at all, but it's yeah, I feel like at least to get started into it until I really feel like I'm invested, which I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit invested now. So there's some more interesting things happening. But like I said, it's a very big book. So I feel like the lead up to everything is going to kind of take a while. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this goes. So I have an update on The Secret History. Last night I listened to the audiobook for probably like 2.5 or 3 hours while I crocheted, and I got to page like 380, I think. And then this morning I was listening to the audiobook on my way to work, and I got to page 400, and I'm determined to finish it tonight. I have like 160 pages left, so I'm gonna sit and listen to it on audiobook. I'm gonna be honest, there was a point where I was very confused on what was happening, and so I actually ended up looking it up on SparkNotes because this book was released in 1992, and I think it's kind of considered like a modern day classic, sort of. So I ended up looking up on SparkNotes a little bit of a summary, not of the whole book, but just of up to the part that I had read, just to kind of get a better idea, because I was very confused on part of it, and I was like, wait, what just happened? And that definitely helped clear things up, because there's a part where, I don't know how to explain it without giving it away, but there is a part where they are, I'll just say they're in the woods and something happens and there are drugs and alcohol at play. So you're kind of like, is this real, or were they hallucinating? Like, what exactly happened? So I had to look it up, and now I'm like, okay, I understand now. I will say, I feel like we really hit the peak of the book and like what I was really excited to find out, and now I'm kind of feeling like I might be getting a little bored. I just feel like the big thing that we've been waiting the whole book, I mentioned like there's someone that dies, and so we get to that and we see what happened, and now I'm just like, okay, what more can really happen? And we still have 160 pages left, so I'm like, is something else different gonna happen? I don't really know. So like I said, I'm gonna try and finish this. I'm probably gonna finish it up on audiobook, and then just, yeah, sit here and hang out, work on my crochet while I listen to this on audiobook. Okay, the last few days have been kind of hectic for me, and I haven't updated this vlog too much. And I actually have since finished The Secret History and read another book. So I need to definitely break these down for you guys and kind of give my opinions, and also part of the reason why I didn't update. Last update, I was almost done with The Secret History, and I did end up finishing it. And honestly, I was confused, to say the least. I really didn't know how to feel about this book. I feel like I needed to sit on my thoughts for a little bit just to like really analyze how I was feeling. I'm pulling up my phone because I literally wrote notes down in my phone of like what was going through my head when I finished this book. So after reading like the first 50 pages, I really thought that I was going to DNF this book. I wasn't enjoying it, and I can't really remember what my last update was, but I know I was like much further on in the book. Obviously I did not DNF it, and I actually ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would. I gave this book 3.25 stars, which I know feels very specific, but it was just the way I was feeling about this book for some reason. Just that felt like the right, I don't know. Anyway, overall, I really enjoyed the storyline. I loved following these characters, and I thought they were definitely interesting, and the storyline as a whole was interesting, but I feel like there was a lot of unnecessary added detail. I feel like the book was way too long. Like, it definitely could have been shortened, cut down. I don't know. It felt way too long and over detailed, that it made some parts really boring and hard to get through. I think the last thing I do remember mentioning is that this big event happens, and basically you find out what happens, why the character dies at the beginning, but there's still like 200 pages after that. So I'm like, I thought that that would be the end of the book, like finding out why this character died. But no, you find that out like 2/3 into the book, and then you still have another third of the book. And so that's kind of where I was confused, and I feel like that part definitely could have been shorter. It was kind of just all the characters after the death of this character and sort of what they were all going through afterwards, and I just felt like a lot of unnecessary detail was added. So I did, like I said, enjoy certain parts of it, but there were also parts that I just found really boring, and I was kind of like, towards the end of the book, I was like ready for it to be over. Now let's jump into our next Dark Academia book, which is The Atlas 6 by Ella B. Blake. I've actually already finished this. I read this really quickly, honestly. I listened to this on audio and got done with it in like 2 days because I was literally just listening to this. I loved listening to this on audio. There were times I would follow along in the book, but mostly I was listening to it on audio, and I loved it because there are 6 main characters in this book and each character has their own voice. Whichever character's point of view we're in for that chapter, that is the voice actor or person that's narrating it, and I loved that so much. It reminded me of Daisy Jones and the Six, how they all have different voices as well. I love when audiobooks do that. It just adds to it so much more, and I really felt more immersed. Now, saying that, I would give this book 3 stars because I was left so confused by this book, and I was honestly confused the whole time. For this book, there are magicians in this world. Not everyone is a magician, but these people are magicians, and there's a group called the Atlas Society, and every year, or maybe it's not every year, I don't know, they pick 6 people to go to the society and learn and study more on their magic, and then ultimately one of them is eliminated and the other 5 go on to this society. That's kind of the general gist. So you get these characters in the society. And maybe this was me going into it with a different mindset, I really thought this was going to be more almost like Harry Potter-esque, or even I was thinking like Fourth Wing, like school setting, really getting this like mystical, magical school. Thought there were going to be lessons and things like that, and that is not what this book is at all. And maybe that was like me just putting my like own opinions or perspective on what I thought was going to happen, but I did not feel immersed in this setting at all. I was really hoping for more description, and it was just, I don't know, like I feel like there wasn't a lot of description. I feel like that was a theme with this book in general, was there was not a lot of explanation at all. Like this magical system in this world and the different powers that these people have, I was so confused the whole time. I was like, what? Like half the time I couldn't even understand what their powers were. Also, a few of the characters had similar powers, so I would get confused. I was like, wait, who has what power? Also, I feel like the magic system was not well explained at all, and just like the society as a whole, like they just kept mentioning this society, but I'm like, who's in the society? What does the society do? Like, is the society the government? Like, it's just so confusing. And I found myself looking up summaries and analyses of this book because I was like, am I stupid or am I just not getting this? And it seems like that's kind of a common theme, that a lot of people are left very confused. So I felt better about that. There was so much like philosophical conversations that I feel like were never really came to any conclusion, if that makes sense. Like they would just talk about these big open topics of life and death, but nothing was ever concluded in these conversations. I don't know if I'm explaining this well at all, but I am intrigued, and I definitely at some point would like to read the other 2 books in this series because I want to know what happens, because it is left pretty open-ended. But I was so thoroughly confused half the time. So for that reason, I gave this book 3 stars. It's not a bad book, and I think I was just expecting something different. I was expecting a lot more fantasy, and it was just a lot of very philosophical, you know, questions of life in the world and all of that, which was not at all what I was expecting. All right, so now we are moving into the 3rd and final book of the series, which is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I already took the dust jacket off, but I am so excited to read this book because I've heard such good things about it. I feel like just based on the description that I've read of this book, I feel like I'm going to love it so much. This is about Addie, and basically she makes a deal with someone, doesn't really say who, so I guess we'll find out, but she makes a deal with someone where she will be able to live forever, but no one will remember her. So this book starts in 1714, and then there's like a little prologue, and then you jump and it's in 2014. So she's been alive for 300 years now, and that is where I'm at. I literally read like the first couple pages and that's it. So I'm so excited to get into this. Like I said, I've heard so many people love it so much, and I'm just really excited to read it. But yeah, so I'm gonna stay here now and start reading, and I will try and give you guys more updates. Like I said, I didn't really give you updates on the Atlas 6 because I was so confused the whole time and I had no idea what was going on. And so I couldn't even form thoughts or opinions because I really had no idea what was happening half of the time. So hopefully that doesn't happen with this book as well. Okay, so I wanted to give a little update on where I'm at with Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I am currently on page 114, and I've actually started listening to this on the audiobook. It's so weird. I'm never usually an audiobook person, but for some reason, all three of these books I've been just for some reason wanting to listen to on audiobook, and I'm really liking it so far. I am like already know, because I've heard a lot of people say that this book is very emotional and just makes them very sad. And I can already see that happening. I'm already starting to feel so much for our main character, Addie, and I just feel like that's probably going to continue to build. I'm about 25% of the way through, and I just feel like, yeah, definitely could see myself. If this goes where I think it goes, I have a slight prediction, but I don't want to like focus too much on that because I want to really just enjoy the story. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Addie was born in France in the early 1700s, or actually very late 1600s, but in the year 1714, she is basically being forced to be married off by her parents, and she doesn't want to. She didn't want to ever get married. She kind of just wanted to like live her own life, and you know, but at that time, obviously women couldn't do that. And she ends up making this deal with this god where she's like, please don't make me get married. Like, let me get out of this. She's like, I just want to do whatever I want. And she basically makes this deal that she will live forever, but no one will ever remember her. So like the next day she goes back to her family and they're literally like, who are you? Like, we don't know who you are. And whenever she meets someone, as soon as they like turn away from her, they forget her. So if she's talking to someone, they'll remember the conversation, but then as soon as they're not talking anymore, they forget her. You have her life in 1714 where she's kind of trying to like figure this out and like all of this is happening. And then you have her life in 2014. She's living in New York City, and obviously this has been her life now for 300 years. So it's following her then and just kind of how she has lived her life this way for so long. I find it very interesting. I love the writing style so much, and yeah, I am gonna continue to listen to this. I am really working on my crocheting. I'm making a blanket, and I've just been working on it for I feel like so long, and I'm making decent progress, but blankets take so long to make, so I feel like this is gonna take me forever. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna get back to. Hi guys, so it has been a little bit since I've updated you on this vlog, but I finally finished The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I gave this book 5 stars. I loved this book so much. Like, it's been several days since I finished it, and I've just continued to think about this book. Like, it is such an incredible book, like truly amazing. I loved every aspect of it. I highlighted so much. There was such good like quotes in here and such incredible writing. I loved the message about life and not taking it for granted and embracing every moment that you have, and also not always kind of wishing away life and like wishing for something better, and instead just kind of embracing the life that you are given. Just so good. I feel like I need to read like a few of my favorite quotes from here because there are some really good ones. This one says, time moves so fucking fast. Blink and you're halfway through school, paralyzed by the idea that whatever you choose to do, it means choosing not to do 100 other things. It's totally related to that. I was like, yeah, felt that. Small places make for small lives, and some people are fine with that. They like knowing where to put their feet. But if you only walk in other people's steps, you cannot make your own way. You cannot leave a mark. Like, everything about this book is so good. I sobbed at the end. Like, it was so emotional, and I kind of predicted what was gonna happen, but I still felt so like emotional about it. And even though I kind of, like I said, had an idea, I was like so overcome with emotion reading it. So there's a really sweet romance in this book as well that I love so much. And this is one of the quotes. It says, in the morning it looks like ghosts have danced across the kitchen and they pretend there were 2 instead of 1. Which, if you know about the book and you've read the book, you know like how much that means. Also, this is a quote that is said a lot in the book, is ideas are wilder than memories. And then after that it says, memories are stiff, but thoughts are freer things. They throw out roots. They spread and tangle and come untethered from their source. They are clever and stubborn, and perhaps they are in reach. The writing is just so unique. The storyline was so unique. And I just really adored this book so much. So that is all for my reading Dark Academia. I feel like it was very interesting. The first two books were not necessarily my favorite, and I feel like they were very different than Addie LaRue. Like, I feel like the first two books were a lot more similar to each other, and then Addie LaRue was very different. Didn't have the schooling aspect, it didn't have the academia aspect necessarily, but from all the research I've done, it still kind of falls under Dark Academia. So I definitely loved this one. If you have any books similar to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, definitely let me know because I loved this book so much. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!